Hi there. Today we would like to talk to you a little bit about Los Rios' prison education and reentry education program. And I'll start by introducing myself. You can read my kind of professional credentials and titles here, but what you don't know in this slide is that as we are here in the spring of 2021, in the middle of this pandemic, is that I'm keeping myself occupied by experimenting with sourdough, which I guess kind of makes me a cliche, except for not really, because the other part of what I do is spend a lot of time thinking about and working through how to actually carry out my belief in justice and in decreasing harm in our larger systems. And one of the ways that that comes out is in my work with our students who are incarcerated. I really believe that I have learned as much from them as maybe they have learned from me. I hope they've learned from me. And one of the big things that I've learned is how important it is to center our humanity in all of the interactions that we're doing. And I hope throughout this presentation today that we're able to not only kind of give you the stereotype and facts and the high level story, but also to give you at least somewhat of the nuances of what we're doing in prison education during the pandemic.
And in partnership with Kalinda, as the Dean of the Prison and Reentry Education Program, I have spent the last year really examining and unlearning or unknowing the ways in which our work doesn't align with our values and where we can improve upon, and spending time with the ways that our work in the facilities and with our reentry students does align with our values and our mission and vision for our community of students. So um, this time in the pandemic has really sort of sifted away at the things that we do really well and the work that is really transformational and in service of social justice. And it's highlighted the areas in which we can improve upon and continue to build our capacity to do better. So a little bit of background on how the Prison and Reentry Program came to be in 2016. It started with legislation known as SB 1391 in 2015, which determined that California community colleges can serve students face-to-face in correctional facilities, and it attached the higher level of apportionment to those courses to support the greater workload and expenditures associated with those courses. It was followed by Prop 57 in 2016, which created milestone opportunities for our students, which means that they can earn time off for every successful course that they complete. For every 1 unit a student earns, they earn 1 week off of their sentence. And when they earn an associate's degree, they earn 6 months off of their sentence.
So I really like this particular slide because it shows you how Los Rios's colleges are involved. You'll notice that quite a few of our instructional classes are at Folsom Lake College. And what this slide is telling you is that the faculty who are teaching in prisons, a lot of them are teaching courses through Folsom Lake College. But you'll also notice that courses are being offered through CRC and SCC, and you'll notice that reentry is written on each of these. So the difference between the in-facilities and the reentry is the in-facilities is providing college level courses in prison and in jails. And the reentry programs are about providing support and meeting the unique needs of students who are leaving a correctional setting and in the community are taking courses as they transition in the community. I will be real honest and say that ARC does not yet have a program. And so us putting that there is our hope that very quickly ARC will establish a faculty coordinator and begin to do the hard work of creating the reentry program on campus.
So Los Rios is unique in that we have every level of correctional facility in our service district. That means that we serve every individual in a state prison, county jail, and youth detention facility who is eligible and interested in participating in the community college program. This is a wide range of students, and it's very much indicative of the demographics of our community as well. So when we look at the program as a whole to date, One of the really important pieces is what our students think about themselves when they develop their Los Rios scholar identity. And so the image here of the two clowns was hand drawn by one of our students with a ballpoint pen and mailed to us with a letter that described his experience in one day during the pandemic and our remote instruction in the facilities. And he explained that when he wakes up in the morning, he feels okay. He feels like it's a new day and things can change. But as the pandemic has progressed and his ability to connect with his peers and his faculty have been very limited, the day gets harder at some point. He explained, though, that being a student and having that identity has been the most critical part of his survival in the pandemic, and it's informed his ability to continue day after day in a correctional facility without contact to the outside world. And this sort of support and demonstration of support from our faculty and staff and community of scholars in the district shows up in our data. So our students are persisting, even in the most difficult conditions. To date, we've offered 168 courses, which totals over 4,500 enrollments. We know that even though our students have incredibly difficult and challenging living, learning, and working conditions in correctional facilities, they are still outperforming our students on campus. And ultimately, there's a savings benefit to the community. So we're not just improving the community conditions in facilities, but for every successful course our students complete, they individually save taxpayers over $4,000. So when we look at this semester alone, even in a pandemic, Los Rios Community College District Prison and Reentry Education Program has offered the community a savings of over $4 million because our students are persisting and succeeding, which means they're reducing the amount of time on their sentence.
So I'm thankful for the things that Mari just said, because one of the things that it can be a challenge in a presentation like this is to center the strengths and characteristics of students. And I often hear, well, what are students like who are incarcerated? Are you scared in the classroom? Is there something special about the students? What I would just say is that there are unique things about the students. They have strengths and reasons for enrolling that are very similar to the students who are on campus, and yet they live in an incredibly oppressive environment in which they're reworking their relationship with formal education, because many of them have really difficult experiences with formal education prior to their community college experiences. And also, one of the things that's more unique about this population is we have a pretty large percentage of students of color. And if you know about the prison and jail system incarceration in our country, that will not be a surprise to you. But also, I think sometimes people don't realize that regardless of what you see with our students, there's a lot of things you may not see, which is former foster care involvement, or current economic status. These are some of the things that we call quote unquote disproportionately impacted. And we have a large percentage of students that fit those categories within our prison education program. So one of the questions I've been asked is, what are you doing now? It's a pandemic. And what we are doing is still offering courses, but everything we offer is dependent on pen and paper, which is different than what's going on campus. So what is happening as on campus is there is no face-to-face instruction, but students do not have access to technology, which means, as I said in the previous slide, everything has converted to paper and pencil, including written work from students and handwritten comments and feedback from faculty. So each week, what happens is professors prepare work for students, and they write comments and grade students' work and do weekly communication with students. And then they take that work, put it in envelopes, and go to Folsom Lake College, exchange the work with employees in education at the prisons. And then those employees take the work and the envelopes, well, the work that's in the envelopes, back to the prisons, distribute it to the individual buildings and cells that students are in. The students do the work, put it back in envelopes, our partners at the prisons grab the work again and then bring it to us on campus. And this cycle continues and continues and continues each week. And I want to take a little, I could give you endless stories that I've heard of things from students, but I want to give you a really brief story about a student who first had me for a class um, a year, like maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. And some things happened in his life while he was incarcerated that prevented him from coming to a few classes. And so he ended up not passing the class the first time that I took it. But spring of last year, he took the course again and he completed the course. He was loving the classroom discussions and he still persisted when we transitioned in the pandemic. And this semester, I have him again for a different course. And he is like acing the course. He is doing a great job. And he recently wrote in some weekly communication, he wrote, "I'm really learning with this distance education way of life. I didn't think I could excel outside of a classroom, but I see that I have proven myself wrong again." And only he and I probably know what that again is, but I gave you the background so you could know it as well. And my response to him in writing was, "Great work this semester. Your work this semester is a large part of your learning." And we work with our students to continue to increase their academic self-efficacy as they define themselves and define one of their roles in life as a college student.
So as the program continues and grows, the students are pursuing their associate's degrees in part to make sure that they're eligible for the bachelor programs that are starting in the correctional facilities and are available to them upon their return to the community, but also to support students with their reentry efforts in total. So we're always looking for faculty who meet the minimum qualifications in the areas listed on this slide, but also faculty and staff who are interested in supporting students upon reentry to our college communities. We find again and again that it is the colleges who are the very best network for our students upon their return. And so the program continues to evolve and our students are always asking for more courses to continue on their academic trajectory.
So, if anywhere that you're involved, I like to, I think we'll end with our information, but before we do that, any of the Los Rios colleges that you're involved in, there's an opportunity add us to the things that you do professionally. If you are at American River College, we are really looking to change this slide. So any of the colleges, we would like to see people involved. But for American River College, we would really like to see greater participation and involvement in our professional learning community and in our network. Really quickly, each week, those who are teaching in prison have the opportunity to get engaged in our professional learning community that meets remotely each week. And also every other week, we have meetings of the ad hoc committee of the district senate for our prison ed and reentry program. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. And if you're interested in learning more or you want to get involved, I think the last slide contains our contact information.
Yes, so please get in touch. Feel free to send Kalinda or myself any questions, ideas. We have a really incredible and dedicated group of faculty and staff who are day in and day out being innovative in the ways that they accommodate the needs of our students and meet them where they're at, even in a pandemic. But as the veil of the pandemic lifts slowly, we want to make sure that we're continuing to adapt to the needs of our students and support one another in that effort. So we hear continuously from the students that they don't want us to give up on them. They don't want us to forget about them. And so in that effort and in that spirit, we'd love to get connected with you as well.